And welcome to another edition, Drawing a Crowd, the Business Sports Tourism. This month, whenever it's late September, early October, we're looking at the Maryland Five Star, and that is Maryland spelled out with the number five star. And the website is maryland5star.us. And that's where you can go for all the information on buying tickets, who the vendors are, who the sponsors are, where to go, things to do. Our guest, as always, is the host of this, is Terry Hasseltine, the executive director of Maryland Sports. And our special guest today is Jeff Newman, who's the president and CEO of the Maryland Five Star at Fair Hill. And obviously, Terry, we're going to talk a lot to Jeff, but the number five is really important this year because it is the fifth rendition of this event. It's become, I won't say it's at the Preakness level yet, but it's moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Is this going according, aside from COVID, has this gone pretty much according to Hoyle?
Well, to some degree, yes. I mean, obviously, anytime you have a setback like COVID, it obviously derails some of the plans and activities. But going back through the entirety of the bid process and getting the legislation to create the Sport and Entertainment Corporation to leading into hosting the first, Maryland Five Star took a lot of work, and it took a village of people to bring it to fruition. It took, leadership at the state level, the county level, as well as the local jurisdictional level. Governor Hogan and the MSA leadership, were instrumental in helping us move the needle forward in the late, teens, and then allowed us to get the right legislation in place in order to create an organization to manage and operate the Maryland Five Star and some other properties that fall under our purview. But really, at the end of the day, it was the ability and the movement of some key leaders, Mike Hankin, Mike Gill, and a few others, that gave me the authority to go and hire the best person for the job. And the best person for the job is sitting on with us today. Jeff raised his hand back, in 2019, said, "I want to be a part of this. I love where we're going to go." And he not only is he, kept the course of time, but he took some stuff of it in a sport he knows little to nothing about at the time, but has a great, tremendous event background, and was able to take what were renderings and a philosophy and a theory of what the Five Star could be. And then, he delivered on it right after COVID, setting up the venue up at Fair Hill. I mean, I got to do the joy of walking out there and going, that's exactly the picture that was designed in the bid process when we were talking to the USEF and the FEI early on. And because of his understanding of detail, understanding of the connectivity you have to make with the right vendors and the right operators and everything like that, and then assembling a team, Jeff has done a tremendous job. So I'm very proud to be affiliated with Jeff. Glad he's on our team. Wouldn't trade him for the world. We have days. Just joking. But at the end of the day, Jeff has built a team, has built a product that will rival any other Five Star in the world. And, for us only being in our fifth year in comparison to all of our counterparts who've been in 50, 60, 100 plus years, Jeff is building a product on behalf of the state of Maryland and the Maryland Sport Corp that will rival any other product that's out there in the state to date.
Jeff, I want to talk to you before we get into the nuts and bolts of this thing. I do want to talk to you, and I know we've talked about this. COVID obviously was a terrible plague on society, but we've talked at length a little bit about how that gave you an extra year. And I don't know that you would have been able to put the first year on quite as effectively had you not had that extra time. It gave you some time to take a deep breath and really, I think, hit the ground really running rather than make some missteps in year one. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it gave us the opportunity to do a test event, first of all. That was also important, just to test the turf track and the cross-country course. But really, I mean, it gave the vendors, the operators that we have to partner with, catering companies, tent companies, retailers, et cetera. It was more just because there's, as Terry said, it's a village and there's so many people involved with a temporary build. It was difficult to be able to, attract enough vendors to pull this off when they were just trying to, keep afloat and maintain their businesses when, the event world in particular really
Yeah.
shut down. So it really just gave everybody just more time to get better prepared for the magnitude of what this event is and the size and scope of it. So yeah, it was definitely a welcome. I mean, in a sort of a blessing
Yeah.
in disguise, obviously, but it certainly gave some ample time to get better prepared.
All right. Before we get into it, I do want to give you an opportunity. You get a lot of the focus, and Terry does too, both well deserved. Talk a little bit about the team you've put together. It's a takes a village, but there are 5 or 6 key people there that really help you.
Yes. Well, first off, we partner with an organization called Fair Hill International.
Yep.
They've been running eventing competitions from a grassroots level all the way up to the higher levels for 30 some odd years. And so we had the experience of that group of people and some real dedicated people as well as volunteers to, really help in the beginning. We continue to partner with them at this point in time. But yes, we have a competition director, Joni Morris. She used to work for the United States Equestrian Federation, so great deal of experience from a competition side. We have a director of operations, a special events manager, a retail vendor manager, of course, ticketing and sponsorship, et cetera. So it's a small but mighty team, but a lot of experience and a lot of background to be able to pull off, a major event, not just this event, but also other events that we do.
Tell me a little bit about this. Is a lot of times we gloss over the name Mars when we go Maryland 5 Star. It is technically called or literally called the Mars Maryland 5 Star. Talk at Fair Hill. Talk a little bit about Mars's involvement, and also it's presented by Brown's Advisory. How they are to the
Well, like all sporting events, especially, day or week-long events, title sponsor and presenting sponsors are critical to making the event, financially viable.
You
And
mean
so
Terry doesn't just have very deep pockets that he digs into?
he might have deep pockets, but not that he gives to this event. But uh, So yeah, I mean, it's just the consistency of having the title and presenting sponsor is not only just critical from a financial standpoint, but the credibility it gives us to have Mars, who has an equestrian division, Mrs. Mars, who has her own horses and
Yeah.
competes is a passionate fan. But they also just bring so much to the event in terms of their activation and what they do from a customer service and spectator enhancement standpoint. And, they're obviously it's a international, huge company. In addition, Brown Advisory is another international, prominent company to also be, each year our presenting sponsor. It helps with brand awareness of the event. If you're changing title sponsors, consistently, it's difficult when you're a new event in order to create awareness because it changes names. So we've had the consistent branding along with the financial support, from 2 amazing companies that have really got us to where we are today.
All right, let's get into it now. I know from an event standpoint, following you and talking to you each year about this event, you always like to evolve the event, have something new. What is going on for 2025 that you can sort of point to as you got to come out and see this because it's going to be better, bigger, and new?
Well, first of all, as you mentioned, it is a commemorative year. It's number 5 in 2025. And
Yep.
so we have some branding, new commemorative logos that will be involved with merchandise for people to get an opportunity to get some, special commemorative apparel and merchandise, very similar like Preakness at 150. We're at number 5. So it's a unique year. But I think I mentioned this to you previously. What's new is actually consistency. It's taken us 5 years to figure out the layout of the property, how it could best have spectator flow and competition flow for the horses. And, that's created when people, especially that have come out each year, it's a little bit, okay, where am I now? This year, you actually, if you've been before last year, you're now going to have familiarity with the property, which is actually a very good thing for us because we were able to be more efficient and to be able to communicate the event and the event details much more further in advance. But some things that we've added are unique. One, it's really on the special event side, to try to create and attract more people and more families. We actually added a 5K run and a dog trot on the Sunday of our event. So people are going to actually be able to come out, run a 5K, see the beautiful property, and then hopefully attend the event. In addition, we've added what's called the Real Rider Cup, which is our effort to try to get, more people from different disciplines with equestrian out to the event. So it's a thoroughbred aftercare initiative. And a lot of thoroughbreds, after they're done with their racing career, they actually become eventing horses. And so it's a way for us to, attract more of the racing community out at the event. It's a fundraiser again for aftercare for thoroughbred horses, and it's just a fun. In one of our arenas, it's a jumping competition that'll take place. So we've added some fun special events, and then just our retail program continues to grow. So we have, in terms of a shopping experience, I mean, we have nearly 120 retail vendors for people to come out and do all their shopping, heading into the holidays. And then we've just grown the other components. So our Corgi Cup it's already, one of the special events that we have, but it's sort of an event on its own. And we now have 125 Corgis ready to race. So I just think people are going to have an opportunity, especially this year. It's a chance to bring your family out. It is an off weekend for the Ravens. And as much as we all would have loved the Orioles to get in the playoffs, they're not. So it's actually a chance for maybe more people to experience the event this year. So that's sort of new as well. I mean, that's a unique opportunity to help brand and promote the event.
I don't want to usurp the whole 25 minutes or so. I'll give it to Terry in just a minute, but we're going to do a Zoom next week, one of my regular Zooms on PressBoxOnline.com with Tyson Rementer, the track superintendent and the guy who helped design it and everything. I understand there's something new there this
Oh
year, the
yeah.
cross country track.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I failed to mention that. So we have the Olympic cross
Terry
country.
would have fired me if I didn't bring that up.
Can you hear our trucks going by? Sorry about that. So we have the Olympic course designer, Pierre Legupil, who did the Paris Olympics recently. And it was one of the main talking points of the Olympics, actually, and how incredible that cross country course looked and how exciting the competition was. So that he's our new course designer here at the Maryland Five Star Fair Hill. And so he's designed a course that really has a French flair to it and a European flair. And he's really added some exciting jumps and obstacles that are going to just be amazing for people to look at. So for those who've been to cross country before, it's going to be brand new. And for those that have never been, it's something it's the definition of the sport is cross country. And it's just so exciting and awesome to see.
It's spectacular. Terry, I know you've got some questions, even though you work closely with Jeff. I know you got a couple questions, so go ahead.
No, so Jeff, obviously spectacular job as usual. Looking forward to the 15th through the 19th out there at Fair Hill. When you look at the competition and you're looking at the field of play, is there anything that's caught your eye about some of the competitors coming over, whether they're domestic or overseas? Is there anybody that's standing out to you in the competition this year that might be net new to the environment, or someone that's coming back that we might have fallen in love with in years past?
Well, we have a unique dynamic, as you know, in terms of like U.S. riders trying to compete and on the same level as a lot of the successful European and international riders. So coming off like the Ryder Cup, for example, where you have the US versus Europe and how intense that was. I mean, that's how it is here at the Five Star too, is the American riders want to show that they're just as good, if not, better, and can compete on the international stage as some of these top European and international athletes. So we have some new flags coming this year. One from Switzerland. That's the first time. We have a rider coming from Australia. So we have some new representation that we haven't had before coming to the event. And so there's always going to be that interesting dynamic of how do the Americans compare to the international. So it's sort of a mini Ryder Cup, if you will, within the event. And then, one thing that is unique about our event is we have 3 levels of competition. We're the only event that has a young event horse competition for 4 and 5-year-olds as an event within the event. And then we have our 3-star, which has every year it's filled to capacity. We have 51 entries already. So we have that, and then it follows with the 5-star. So you get to see all 3 levels and really that pipeline, that for the event to do its part to help grow the sport. So you're going to see the beginners, the novices, and the best of the best, all within the event. So when you come out, there's just a whole ton of horses that you could see, and it's an awesome spectacle. So, that's something we want to reiterate, is that it's called the Maryland 5-Star, but we also have, 2 other levels of competition that really creates, a full content of competition throughout the day.
Yeah. So to piggyback on that, obviously, part of the event is the Corgi Cup, and I heard there was a retirement this year, and we might see something new on the championship podium this year at the Corgi Cup.
Yeah, we're going to crown a new champion because our 3-time champion, and actually has been undefeated since we started the Corgi Cup 3 years ago, has officially retired. So hanging up the shoes, so to speak, the little shoes, and we'll be crowning a new champion. So, I mean, the Corgi Cup, like I said, it's an event on its own almost. People just come out for the Corgi Cup alone. So if people do want to, come out and see something also that, is just a ton of fun. Sunday morning is the early rounds, and then we do the semifinals and finals midday. So it's fun.
Jeff, go ahead, Bear. Go ahead.
No. So Jeff, I mean, obviously, I'm obviously very close to the event, and again, you mentioned Joni Morris. I mean, obviously, that was a big feather in the cap. Someone, when we were bidding on the event, was on the other side of the table, and then having her come and join the team. With the addition of Pierre and others, you mentioned those folks, but is there some other members of the team that who play key roles that if they were to not be on the team, we would be in deep trouble? Anybody you want to throw some credit out there to?
I love the softball. Yeah, Marissa Melzer. She's our event director and really the glue that keeps everybody together. I've never seen someone that's more efficient and able to do so many things at once in such
loves what she's doing.
Yeah, she's just and she comes from an equestrian background. She's also a dog lover, and on top of that, just an amazing employee. So, I would say without her, and at a very young age too, she is just a rock that keeps us moving forward, and really just drives it. Is the conductor of the train on all fronts.
Jeff, let me get to a couple more things. I know we do this every year, but I think it's important to educate the viewers and potential people that are going to come out. Thursday, the 16th, and Friday, the 17th, are both dressage. Can you explain that to the common folk who may not follow this event all the time?
Yeah, so the sport originated as a cavalry test to get horses and riders ready for battle. So it's really a military exercise. And how it started was, to have the horse and the rider become one and do a series of tests. And so dressage is one of those, and that takes place Thursday and Friday. It's really equated to gymnastics and figure skating for horses because it's all about technical moves and being judged. And obviously the least penalty points you have, and the lower the score, the better. So dressage is just, I mean, it's a bit of a unique and sort of acquired taste, but at the same time, it's fascinating to see how incredibly disciplined these horses are with these riders. So it's a ton of fun to watch. It's it's not the thrill of cross country and sort of the nail biting of show jumping, but it's awesome to see. And once people do see it, they get hooked pretty quick.
And then
So
Saturday is the 18th is the cross country, which is the spectacular. And we always say, can only come out one day. That's the day.
that's the day. Because cross country, as I said earlier, it defines the sport. And it's 4 miles of terrain and water and huge obstacles and seeing these horses and they all don't go at once. It's not like racing where everybody
Yeah.
goes at once. It's one horse at a time. And so you get to see each horse, throughout the course, one by one. And so people tailgate and watch it. And we have special events like a beer, wine, and spirits festival that day. We have pony racing. But the cross country course is definitely the best day to come out if you've never seen the sport.
All right. And then Sunday, of course, again, no Ravens football, no Orioles postseason baseball, show jumping. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so back to the test, it's after doing dressage, and if you could then, sort of get past the endurance and the terrain of a cross country course, you then get tested to see how the horses can go over obstacles inside an arena to see the test their agility. And so there's attrition, if riders don't make it past whether the horse pulls up or a rider falls off, God forbid, they're out of the competition. So it's an attrition to get to Sunday. So once you get to Sunday, it's really every rail could be a make or break in terms of placement and whether you win or lose. So it's very intense. It's thrilling. And the view that we've created around the arena with our seating is that there's no other venue, I believe, where you can get as close to the action as what we build around the arena.
All right. I've got one more thing to ask you about, and that is we had you on a couple months ago, you and Terry on, and a delegate in the House talking about the day of racing, turn of racing at Fair Hills. How did that go?
Oh, it went great. As Terry knows from the initial planning of what's now called the Fair Hill Special Event Zone, it's a multi-faceted venue that's meant to host different disciplines of equestrian. So there's a gorgeous turf course that's taken 5 years to cure, and it was finally ready to be raced on. So there's been racing at Fair Hill for 85 years until the pandemic hit, and people wanted their racing back. So the Sport Corp, took it on our shoulders in partnership with the Cecil County Breeders' Fair to bring racing back to Fair Hill. So we had a great, beautiful day, nearly 4,000 people. It was free admission. And we learned a lot from the turf course as well as the layout to then turn around and do an event on Memorial Day weekend in 2026 that will be more traditional of what had taken place here for years, which is jump racing, steeplechase combined with flat racing, betting, tailgating, et cetera. So it was really just a way to lay the foundation now to bring, more and more racing to Fair Hill. To now, follow with, eventing. So it's really the facility is coming to life now in terms of what it was intended to do.
Last thing, volunteers. Do you still need any, and how would somebody apply for that?
We're actually good. We have nearly 600 volunteers.
Wow.
So
Okay.
you talk about who's critical on the staff. I mean, these volunteers are
Volunteers are
a
definitely.
big extension of the staff and critical. So we actually have cut it off. We've gotten great participation, so we're good on that front.
All right. It's the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill presented by Brown's Advisory. Again, the website is the state name Maryland, fully spelled out, 5, the number, star.us. Tickets, visitors guide, vendors, things to do, sponsors, media, shop merchandise. It's all there for you on the website. Terry, thank you for helping set this up with
My pleasure.
Jeff Newman. And that's going to do it for today. It's exciting time. Looking forward to being out there, keeping our fingers crossed for good weather.
Absolutely. That makes or breaks the opportunity, Stan. The weather can play a huge role in that. And Jeff's on rooftops doing his little dance, as the rest of us are, to make sure that that week of the 16th through the 19th is absolutely beautiful and pristine. So, Jeff, it's in your court now.
Yeah. If I could add one more plug,
Yep.
just as a critical person, and you've had on your show is Mike Hankin with Brown Advisory.
Oh,
He's
he's
committee chair.
incredible.
And what he's done to support equestrian in the state as well as Brown Advisory is really second to none. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mike.
Absolutely.
All right. Terry, I was driving by the old Pimlico today, and it hit me that sometime in the next few months we should do a show on the Preakness at Laurel. I mean, the Preakness at Laurel for a year.
Yep.
And how it's going over at Pimlico.
Absolutely. And it just adds on to another thing that we're involved with at the Sport Corp. We obviously have the racing at Fair Hill, the Maryland Five Star, the Maryland Cycling Classic, the Preakness Festival, and, in 2028 and 32, the AU Junior Olympics. And I think something we're very proud of, if you look at all those things, they're open, doors of equitable competition for men and women. And the things that aren't in the competition realm are open to the public to participate and take part in. So very proud of the portfolio that's been developed under the Sport and Entertainment Corporation.
All right, Terry, thank you. For Jeff Newman, Terry Hasseltine, I'm Stan the Fan Charles. It's been another edition of Drawing a Crowd to Business Sports Tourism, presented by Maryland Sports. That's it for